There's been an update in the Lucy Letby case after Chester Police announced that they were investigating whether there was evidence to support a charge of corporate manslaughter at the Countess of Chester Hospital, where Letby was convicted of murdering a number of newborn babies and attempting to murder several more. Now, in this video, I'm just going to briefly touch upon what corporate manslaughter is and what would need to be proven in order for there to be a successful charge. Corporate manslaughter is an offence under the Corporate Manslaughter and Corporate Homicide Act of 2007, and I've put the legislation on the screen next to me. Now, in order for the prosecution to prove a charge of corporate manslaughter, they need to prove 6 things. First of all, they need to prove that the Countess of Chester Hospital was an organisation, which it clearly is, and they owed a duty of care. Now, this is the same duty of care that they owe in civil law negligence. They've breached that duty of care, and that the breach caused the deaths of the babies. And it's not enough just to be a breach. The 5th element is that the breach was what's known as a gross breach. And there are a number of factors for the jury to consider, such as how serious the failure was, how much of a risk of death it posed, and the extent to which there was attitudes, policies, systems, or accepted practices within the organisation that were likely to encourage such a failure. And they also need to look at the health and safety guidance that was in place. And finally, a substantial element of the breach is the way in which the activities were managed or organised by senior management. Now, one point to note with corporate manslaughter is that this is not against an individual. It is a corporation or a body as a whole. No single individual will be criminally liable or will go to prison if a charge of corporate manslaughter is proven. The punishment, therefore, would be a financial penalty dependent upon the turnover of the organisation. For an individual to be found criminally liable, they would need to be charged and found guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence. Now, the elements of gross negligence manslaughter are as follows, and I've put them up on the screen. That there is a duty of care owed by the defendant. The defendant has breached that duty, and this can include omissions as well as positive acts. So by not doing something, they could have breached that duty. In breaching the duty, there was a risk that the defendant's conduct could cause death. And then there needs to be evidence that the breach did indeed cause the individual's death by the defendant. And did the defendant's actions fall so far below the standards of the reasonable person in that situation that they can be labelled grossly negligent and deserving of criminal punishment? So corporate manslaughter is against an entity, an organisation, a body, not a single individual, but an individual can still be found guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence if their actions were so far below the reasonable standard that their actions were grossly negligent and deserving of criminal punishment. Chester Police have stated that their investigation into corporate manslaughter is in its early stages. Detective Superintendent Simon Blackwell said that the police inquiry would focus on the indictment period of the charges for Letby, which were between June 2015 and June 2016. And he said that the investigation would consider areas including senior leadership and decision making to determine whether any criminality has taken place. He goes on to say, at this stage, we are not investigating any individuals in relation to gross negligence manslaughter, and that the force was unable to go into any further details or answer specific questions at this time, and that they recognise that the investigation will have a significant impact on a number of different stakeholders, including the families in this case, and they are continuing to work alongside and support them during the process, and that we would be notified of any further updates in due course. Separate to this, Lucy Letby is to face a retrial on a single charge of attempted murder after the jury failed to reach a verdict in 6 of the charges, although the CPS chose to pursue only one of those charges by way of a retrial. Separate to this, Lucy Letby is also appealing her conviction. Thanks for watching this short video on the latest in the Lucy Letby case, and I'm sure there will be much more to follow as we go through the retrial, this process of corporate manslaughter investigation, and also her appeal against her conviction. If you did enjoy this video, please do consider giving it a like, and if you'd like to see more content from me, please do consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, take care.